Welcome everyone to FME Hub Unlocked, your guide to sharing and discovering resources. Very excited about today's webinar here and happy to be joined by both Sienna and Nick as our presenting team. I'll pass things over to Nick to introduce himself.
Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. So good morning, or good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name's Nick. I'm the product manager for all of our cloud products, which includes FME Hub, FME Flow Hosted, 3 or 4 other things kind of as well, everything that lives in the cloud. And then with us, we have Sienna.
Hi, I'm Sienna. I'm a technical support specialist here at Safe Software. I focus on customer solutions, so helping customers get going. And if you've been in the hub, you may have noticed some of my transformers typically connecting to different web services.
Awesome. Thank you so much, both. Yeah, super excited to be joined by this duo here today, and they are ready and eager for any questions that you might have as we go along here. So please do get those into the questions tab on the bottom right. We will have some time dedicated at the end to answer questions live. And then alongside that, the chat on the bottom right as well. Keep letting us know where you are tuning in from. And then we also have the icebreaker of what was a time when the FME Hub came in to save the day for you. We love to read through those stories. We will have a poll coming up. So on the bottom right tab as well, under the polls, just keep an eye out for that. Share your emoji reactions with us as we go along the webinar here with that react button. Awesome, people are already using that today. And then if you have any audio or video issues, please click that help button on the bottom left, and there's 4 simple steps to take there. If you'd like to download the slides to follow along live, you can also do that. You'll see a little download button on the top right of the PDF. All right, and to kick us off today, we have a poll. So I have published that under the polls tab now. And I'll take note right away, if you do see more than one option that represents you, you can select more than one option. You might be a user and a contributor, or a user and a newbie to the hub. So feel free to select more than one if more than one applies. But yeah, our question is, how do you currently use FME Hub? I'll give everyone a few moments here to submit their votes.
I'm excited to see some of these answers already because I think we've tailored a good presentation for the most popular votes right now.
Fantastic, yeah. Okay, it looks like we have the majority already actually, so awesome. Thank you so much everyone for placing your votes there. It looks like we have the majority, over 55%, are newbies. New to the hub or haven't used it much yet. So that's fantastic. Like Nick said, lots of great content to discover today through today's webinar. Okay, before I pass things over to Sienna for our agenda here, I'll prompt our presenters to turn off their webcams just to save on some bandwidth for the rest of our webinar. Oh, and actually, lastly, before we dive into the agenda, our Peak of Data and AI is coming to Seattle this May 6th to 8th, 2025. And I just got a communication actually that our early bird pricing is extended. So definitely take advantage of that. It is still available. We hope to see you there. All right, and over to you, Sienna.
Thanks, Elizabeth. All right, so let's dive into the content of this webinar. What are we talking about today? So first, I'll do a brief introduction. What is FME Hub? What do we use it for? And I'll pass it off to Nick, who will be talking about what's actually in the FME Hub and how it's been redesigned and the different functionality of that redesign. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty, talk about how to actually use FME Hub from FME Forum, how to navigate the hub most effectively, talk about our real-world use cases, and then finally talk about our Safers' favorite resources. So resources that really stick out in the minds of fellow Safers. So let's start off this introduction. So what is FME Hub and why are we here today? So FME Hub is widely used, but we feel it's often underutilized. It's easy to connect to FME Hub through FME Forum, and you might not even know that you are using FME Hub content. Today, we wanted to share with you our tips and tricks to help you unlock its full potential and help save you some time. What is FME Hub? Think of FME Hub as an online platform where users can share the tools that they've created within FME. Now, these users could be developers at SAFE or just anyone with a community account on the SAFE software community. But really, FME is such a wide FME Forum and Flow. There's such widely used applications and they can be used for so many different things. FME Hub and the content created on FME Hub can really help you simplify your workflows by stringing FME tools together, and they can help you extend your FME's capabilities by doing things like creating web services and connecting to different systems we wouldn't otherwise natively support. So FME Hub really empowers you to achieve more while simplifying your workflows. If you're brand new to FME, I'll do a little introduction of our products. So on the left-hand side, we can see FME Forum. FME Forum is where you build your data transformation workflows. It allows you to connect to over 500 different readers and writers to input and output your data, as well as many, many transformers to help you transform that data to whatever you need. Now, when you're ready to bring life to your FME Forum workflows or to automate them or share them, you would publish those up to FME Flow. And FME Flow is another platform or another technology that we use to help get the most out of your data workflows. And I would be remiss to not talk about FME Flow Hosted on the webinar with the product manager from FME Flow Hosted. So FME Flow Hosted is simply FME Flow, but hosted for you in an AWS environment. Now, if you're brand new to FME, one thing that we do really well is support a variety of different data types. If you are aware of our background at all, we started in the GIS and kind of CAD realm, and we've expanded out from there throughout the years. And what the FME Hub allows us to do better is support all these different formats and all the different use cases of FME. A lot of our FME Hub content is user contributed. So it's often users who've found a use case or found a niche where they think that by stringing a few transformers together, they can really increase the value and simplify their FME workflows. So a great example is some of our new AI transformers are built by some of our partners. They're built internally. Basically, FME Hub really allows us to extend the reach of our FME product. So I'll pass this off to Nick.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sienna. So, we've had this great introduction about what the hub is, but I wanted to spend a couple minutes here talking about what actually goes into the hub. When you're working in FME, a lot of the time you're just thinking, I've built this great workspace. Is the hub a place where I share it? And the answer to that is, of course. But we can also share many of the individual components that you work on when you're authoring in Form. And Flow actually as well. To start off, I'll talk about the 6 sort of items that can be hosted in the hub and how they work. And then a little later on, we'll dive into how to manage them and how to create them in the first place. And we'll take it from there. So starting off, the hub was originally designed to host custom transformers. Custom transformer is a grouping of transformers done in Form that you can bundle together to create repeatable processes, or have 5 or 10 transformers stitched together to make your life easier to use repeatedly. We also can support custom formats. This is a bit of an advanced feature for most people to be doing, but in Form, you can create custom formats to read special kinds of data, and then you could post them into the hub so that other users would be able to download and use them. Moving on, one of the great uses of the hub is hosting web services. So web services are sort of the template that we use to connect to things like Google Drive or to Salesforce or to any open API that you can do, and this just has the definition of the details needed to connect, the URLs, any parameters, things like that. They have some great integration in Form as well for the web services hosted in the hub already, which we'll talk about in a little bit. We also have workspace templates. So this is where you can actually upload an entire workspace that you've built and create it as a template so that other users can use it, users within your own organization, for example, or the members of the public. And we have a great number of templates in there that kind of really help you with getting started and working with custom JSON workflows, or working with connecting to CityWorks or other kinds of functions like that. And then the last two we have here, these are two a bit more nuanced or a bit more focused items that can go into the hub. We have packages. Now, packages are an advanced type of transformer that are written in Python, and they can often have some more advanced functionality that is a little bit more tricky to replicate using standard transformers, but gives you a lot more control over what happens and how it happens. And this is an amazing sort of functionality to be able to connect to your own infrastructure and be able to pull data and process it in a certain way. And SAFE is actually using packages more and more to host functionality. Like the emailer, for example, is actually a hub package. It's not installed when you install Form on your computer anymore. It's downloaded from the hub when you are needing it. And then lastly, we have the FME Flow projects. And a project is a packaged configuration of workspaces, resources, and dependencies that are used in FME Flow. So you could have a few workspaces, some connection information, some automations bundled together into a nice package, which you can either host in the hub or send to other users as we go. So over the last almost year or so, we actually spent a tremendous amount of time and energy. We rebuilt the hub. Now, the hub was actually one of SAFE's first cloud or web-based products, and it came to life about 10 years ago. And over the last year, like I mentioned, we've spent a tremendous amount of time and energy rebuilding it from the ground up. All new interface on the front end, a lot of work on the back end, a lot of work with our UX, UI teams to really design a product that works well and will serve well into the future. So I'm just going to jump through a couple of the new features and functionality that you may have noticed in the last 6 weeks or so since we went live with the new hub. Obviously, we've got a lot of new branding, and so we've done a complete UX and design makeover. Things look so much clearer and cleaner, a lot easier to see and find and filter what you're looking for. We've done a lot of work in and around our search as well to be able to search better with the different types of items we have, different publishers, which I'll dive into in a little bit. Being able to search the contents of packages is also coming very soon. So it really has come a long way in being able to help you discover and find new content when you're browsing on the hub website itself. We also have revamped, like I just alluded to, a little bit about how we display information about who the publishers are and their tiers, which I'll jump into in a little bit. But it makes it very easy to see, who people are, or who contributors are, I should say, and how they interact with the hub. We've done a pretty significant overhaul, and we'll be doing some more work on simplifying the publishing process and making it really easy to contribute new content to the hub. And then lastly, like all of our cloud products, we design with a mobile first design kind of concept where everything will work great on a tablet, a phone, or your laptop or desktop. Some really important work is done there to make it really easy to see and use and interact with the hub. So all that sounds great, but why don't we switch back over to Sienna, and we're going to talk a little bit about Hub and Form.
Thanks, Nick. All right, so most users do access FME Hub from FME Form, so I'll show you how that looks like. When you use the Quick Add menu, you might notice this icon next to some of our transformers. That icon indicates that it's downloadable, and therefore it's downloadable from FME Hub. So if you've used any of those transformers before, even if you don't think you're using FME Hub, you might already be using it. One thing I wanted to note is that we have different tiers of publishing, which you can view through the quick add. So here we can see the official tier, the verified tier, and the community. I won't be talking about that too much because Nick's covering that later on in the presentation, but just know you have different tiers, and here you can select or deselect the ones you'd like to see. So perhaps you don't want to see anything created by our community users. You could just have the official and the verified toggled on, and then we'll only show you results for those publishing tiers. A little note about publishers. What are they? Publishers are like a group of people in an organization that can all contribute to a hub publisher together. So for example, we have the Safe Software Labs publisher, which is on our community tier. So here, everyone from the Safe Software support staff can contribute to this community tier. So you might be seeing content from me on this tier. You also might be seeing content from Mark Island or another one of our support staff that has all contributed to this tier. If you'd like to know a little bit more about the publisher itself, you can select the publisher name where that arrow is, and that'll pop up a browser where you can see a detailed page on what that publisher is, who they are, to get a little bit more information about the content you're downloading. So with this, we'll go into a demo. All right, so this is FME Forum. I'm going to add a transformer from the quick add menu. I'm toggling on that community tier here, so I'm only going to see content that is created in that community tier. I'll select a transformer I have not downloaded before. In this case, this is the No Features Replacer transformer. When I double click that, that will download, and I'll see a message pop up here. Now, if you want, you can skip this warning in the future so you never see it again. But this warning basically just says, hey, this content was not actually created by Safe Software. Do you wish to continue? And it gives you a link to that publisher again. So there you could click on the publisher and see who actually created it. But in my case, I'm just going to go forward and click that install button. Here I can see the transformer I added. Now, if I want, I can take a quick, closer look at that transformer. So here I'm going to select Edit Embedded Transformer. That allows me to take a peek inside and see what's actually in that transformer. So here I can take a look, and if I wanted to, I could even modify this transformer so it better suits my needs. But just taking a scroll around here, everything looks good. And now I could use this transformer in my workflows. So you can also upload your own content to FME Hub. So obviously, Nick and I are huge supporters of the Hub here. We have individual cases where the Hub has really helped us a lot. And I do really encourage users to share their content if they do have any on the Hub. To get a little mushy here, we have such a great group of users that support the FME product, that support FME Hub. And it's really amazing when I can use some of the work created by another user that they've decided to post to FME Hub. It just makes life so much easier when people do contribute content. And we can take a look at what that looks like if you do wish to contribute to FME Hub. So with that, I'll go into another demo. So here is a custom transformer I created. If I click this help button, I can see the help documentation that I have created here. This is all done using Markdown, and we do have examples on the community of how we see it as a good way to format this Markdown to make it clear for users using the transformers. If I open this up, I can see what I actually wrote in this markdown in this description tab. So the description tab allows us to create documentation for these custom transformers. So if you are uploading a custom transformer, this is where you would edit everything. And as you can see here on the left-hand side, I have what I actually wrote. And on the right-hand side, I have that preview. I also have details on the version history. If I want to upload this, I can choose to export that custom transformer. By default, our organization always selects linked by default. It's just a way of storing a custom transformer where it is linked and not initially embedded in the FME form workspace itself. So it's linked, meaning that FMX file, which is the custom transformer, is stored elsewhere. However, you can select embedded by default, in which that FMX file is stored within the workspace itself. So just two different options there. We use linked by default because it encourages people to edit the custom transformers less, which makes it easier to troubleshoot if something does go wrong. But you could select whatever you want there. And for me, if I'm going to upload something to FME Hub, I prefer to store it in a separate location, just so I know exactly what I'm uploading. So here, I'm going to save this to my desktop. This will open up the custom transformer or the FMX file in a separate window. So I can take one more look at it before I decide to upload. And that is my custom transformer. So here I can go to my browser, and these are the publishers I have access to. So again, think of publishers like a group. And now I can select my publisher and upload my item. So here I'll go in, select my desktop, and upload that item and select continue. You'll notice there's a few configurations here. So the first thing I can configure is I can give my FME Hub item an icon. So this could be, in this case, I'm doing a queue manager, so we could potentially have people queuing, just something to indicate what this transformer actually does. If I was connecting to a new web service, maybe it'd have a logo of another company. I can also upload a test workspace here. So every night, all these custom transformers, if they have a test workspace, they are tested to make sure that they do have the correct input. So the test workspace is either a pass or fail. So you could set up some conditions, maybe have a terminator to determine whether that workspace will pass or fail the test workspace. And then we also have the visibility toggle. So it is possible to have an FME Hub publisher that only contains content that is not shared with the public, so that is internal to your organization, so that it is a potential use of it. But note in FME form, we don't have a user login right now, so you wouldn't be able to see the content that is not shared with public at the moment. For this, because it is a fake transformer and I didn't want to confuse anyone, I set it to private. Here I can click preview, and this will show me what my markdown looks like. So it's a good place to make any changes here. I can also see the history of the transformer itself and what version it's going to be on. In my case, it will be on version 1 because I did not version this transformer. Now, when I go back to editing, I can click publish. This publishes up that custom transformer to the hub. So now anyone within my organization, because this is private, would be able to view it. And now let's say, I'll go into the history first and I'll show you that my history is there. Let's say I'm unhappy with this and I want to remove it. I just click those 3 dots there and select remove item. Select that I would like to do that. And now my hub transformer has also been removed. And that's the end of that demo. And I'll go back to the slides. A little note here, you can also contribute FME packages to the hub. So you might see that some of our official transformers do live on the hub, and that's often because they are web-based transformers. So things like Google Sheets or the emailer, they're all using FME packages now. That allows us to version these transformers quickly without needing organizations to upload what version of FME form they're using. So you'll see a split from us. A lot of our transformers are local to FME form. However, some of them are also stored on FME Hub, and these are packages. Now, we've actually shared out the code on how to write a package, and a package is like a more powerful version of a custom transformer. So if you are a Python coder, you could potentially create your own transformer with a more complex UI and code behind it using FME packages. So it's just another way of creating a different type of transformer. Now, we can also upload web services. So you might notice if you go into the web services panel, if you've ever used this before, let's say you're connecting to a new API, that there are web services you can download. And yes, these are all stored on FME Hub. Once you click download, you can see the web service itself. The web service in the top corner there will give you instructions on how to configure this web service. So it'll tell you the steps, everything to go through in order to configure this web service so that you can use it yourself. Typically, if it is an OAuth web service, it will require some configuration on your hand because most OAuth web services do require you to have an app, but there should be instructions within the web service itself. For example, this web service is Strava, which I believe was used for our Bike to Work week at Safe Software, where users could upload their cycling data to Strava, and that was synchronized across different systems to record people who participated in Bike to Work week. And I'll do a little demo of that as well. So here we have a fake web service I created. I can choose to export this. This gets exported as XML. I'm just going to go ahead and save that in my downloads and not include my credentials. From here, I can upload this to FME Hub. By selecting here, I can see my fake web service and choose to upload it. You'll notice that it has a test workspace as well. You pretty much don't need to use a test workspace because they don't test web services themselves. But from there, I could go ahead and if I wanted to, I could publish that web service to the hub. So a simple process to do. And with that, we'll go back to the slides and pass things off to Nick again.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's a really great overview of working with Form in the Hub. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Hub itself as a platform and some of the components within there, and just give a different overview as well of how to navigate around. The first thing I wanted to do though is, we've talked about this a couple times. We have a few different types of contributors that are able to contribute to the Hub, and we have ways of making this very visible when you're downloading through the quick add, for example, as we've seen, or as you'll see in a moment through the Hub interface itself. These are our three types. So we have what we call our official publisher, and this is content provided by or built by someone at Safe Software. It typically has very good documentation, very strong use, designed very well, and is officially supported. And so you can reach out either through the community or through our support channels to get assistance. And a good example of this would be our Google Sheets package or sort of custom transformer, which allows you to read and write from Google Sheets. This is hosted in the Hub, built by Safe, has a good amount of use and is very well supported. As an aside, for example, with Google Sheets, because Safe uses Google Sheets all the time, you can be sure that it's a great stable package for you to use in Form. Next up, we have our verified tier. So I'll talk about our verified program in just a second here in more detail, but essentially what this is we have trusted partners of safe software who have strong FME workflow building experience and building content for the hub. And we work with them to provide quality content that is safe and secure, well documented, and the partner is the one who will provide the support, whether it's through the hub or through direct means for this content. This is a fairly new program, but we've already had some great contributions and some heavy use from some of our great partners. If, for example, the Sentinel downloader, which allows you to download imagery right from the Sentinel servers. It's provided by Contera, one of our great partners in Germany. And then lastly, and this is by far the most common type of contributor, is we have our community. And the community contributions are everyday users, their organizations, sometimes even safers who are providing kind of an ad hoc way to connect to a service or create a custom transformer like the zip extractor from Pacific Spatial Solutions in Japan. Creates really valuable, great content. Some of our most downloaded content in the hub comes from the community, and really providing some awesome resources. And sometimes these contributions are so good that we end up building out similar functionality into Form in the future, especially when they become really popular and really well used. So, I talked a little bit about the verified tier of publisher, and I just want to highlight a couple, sort of three main points about what it means to work with data or work with items from these verified publishers. So one of the most important is that they are production quality. They have a commitment to being reliable, well documented, and well tested. They're built to be secure. So they're designed with security in mind, not embedding passwords, not doing anything malicious to your system, really designed to keep the high level of integrity of those partners and working with their content. And then lastly, and sometimes this is one of the more important pieces, is the verified items are well maintained. So they're always kept up to date around new functionality in the hub to fix any bugs and ensuring compatibility with future versions. So the program is new. We do have a good amount of content already from our verified publishers, and it's growing all of the time. And we're, every once in a while, we're signing on new partners to help better the ecosphere of content in the hub as well. So, we've talked a little bit about some of the behind the transformers here, but I want to do a bit of a demo, and we're going to talk about sort of quick, effective searching and management tools around using the hub. And so we'll switch here to my video / screen share. Perfect. So here we have our new landing page on the hub. Right away, we can start going into our browse items. This is our main landing page of we're able to search and filter and find content you're looking for outside of using it within the quick add in FME Form. So I'm going to search for a specific geocoder transformer that I'm looking to work with. In this case, it's the Mapbox geocoder. And when you search for an item and you click on it, you get brought to its what I call public item profile page. And there's information in here, as Sienna mentioned, that comes from the building of the custom transformer in Form. We've got a bit of a description. We have usage instructions. And then on the pane on the side, we've got information like when it was created, the minimum version of FME required, and information about the publisher, what level they are, who they are, things like that. We have the ability to add comments. Now, comments aren't necessarily meant for support per se, but you can ask questions, of course, in here. And then we have our versions tab as well. And this highlights any of the changes that have happened, who did the changes and when they were done. As you can see in the top right here, packages or content in the hub in general can have multiple different versions. You can see this one has two versions, an older one probably with some functionality in older versions of Form, and the latest version which works universally. In the drop downs right there, of course. Working with the content that you upload in the hub is also quite straightforward. Sienna already highlighted a little bit of it as well. But before we dive into that, we'll talk a little bit about the filtering. So you can see on the side here, we have a few different filters to help you find what you're looking for. In the video here, we've highlighted searching for our verified publishers, or I just want to look for web services. So all of these toggles on the side can help you find, for example, verified web services, which are web services from a verified publisher. And any of those toggles can help you find content there. We also have our private items toggle. We didn't find anything because there are no private web services in my organization, but the private items are, as Sienna mentioned, the items that are not shared publicly, but are available to any users within your own organization who are logged in to the hub. And they can be downloaded directly from the hub and installed into Form. And as we go through to the next steps here, we're going to start looking at some of the administrative side of things. So on the top right, we have the menu here that shows the different functions you can do. We're going to head into the publisher section here, which will list all of the publishers that I am a member of. Now, in my account, I'm actually only a member of one publisher, which is our Safe Software Lab publisher. And as I go in here, which is exactly how Sienna demonstrated before, we'll be able to see the contents of our publisher and able to go in here and start viewing and editing the details about it. We have a lot of content in this publisher. There's 512 items. Not all of them are published, and some are deprecated, which means that they are sort of no longer needed because we have new functionality in Form, or they are content that is no longer supported by perhaps a web service. Updating is very easy. Editing an item is very easy. And uploading a new icon or a new test workspace here. I'm going to skip ahead here ever so slightly. And the last two pieces I wanted to mention are making the item private and removing the item, of course, are all stored in here as well. So that's the large part of kind of working with the hub. There are a lot of cool things and interesting functionality in the hub that I could spend all day talking about. But the great thing about the hub is it's really easy to explore. Really easy to see what you're trying to see, what functions and features are available. It's both what I like to call very simple and very powerful at the same time. And we're constantly sort of looking at functionality and features and enhancing it to make it easier to publish new content for everyone. So moving forward, I wanted to highlight a couple of real-world applications and use cases for the hub. We have content from many different organizations covering all sorts of different content, whether it's geographic components like CAD or GIS. You're looking at applications like CityWorks or SAP. A lot of this is powered by transformers and other items that are hosted in the hub. So I'm going to highlight here really quickly the city of Surrey. This is our home city here for Safe Software. And they are, of course, significant users of FME, and they use a lot of content that we have built and hosted in the hub, especially when it comes to creating communications and orchestrating information between many platforms like CityWorks and ArcGIS, for example, where all of the CityWorks content that is usable in FME is powered by hub transformers, and they are live downloaded and integrated into their workflows, and then are sent to ArcGIS. And sometimes it's ArcGIS within their own environment in the Arc Enterprise or SDE environment. Sometimes it's ArcGIS Online, where they're using some of the custom transformers and web services available in the hub to connect all of their data together. Another hometown demo we have here is the Vancouver International Airport. Vancouver International Airport and their GIS team has done some incredible work with content like indoor mapping. And FME has some really powerful functionality under the hood to integrate and read CAD and create content for applications like Apple Maps, where they can take data from Maximo and CAD sources, again, using hub readers and writers, or I should say formats and custom transformers, transform the data into GeoJSON format or IMDF, which is the indoor mapping data format, if I'm making it up correctly. This is what then allows them to take their existing business data and send it to Apple Maps, for example, so that users who are using Apple Maps have a high quality indoor map available through the Apple Maps application that is fed directly from their CAD or other building information management tools. This is really great. You don't have to sit there and create maps by hand. You can, using FME and content in the hub, you quickly and easily transform and clean up your CAD data and make it available in apps. The airport at one point had their own app, the YVR app, which had a great 3D map ability in there, also powered by data that was transformed using FME and content from the hub. So some really sort of interesting examples. I think it's rare to find any organization these days that doesn't use content from the hub. And we're really seeing a lot of interesting use cases and a lot of growth in organizations publishing their own content to make their lives easier, but also those of other FME users. And over the last 10 years, we've had millions upon millions of downloads and thousands of different versions of content. Right now, there's about 1,500 items hosted in the hub that are public, and really has the power to transform your organization's abilities and making things easier. But I'm going to pass things over back to Sienna now, and she's going to talk about some of the internal use cases and favorite resources we have.
All right. Oh, there's some shocked faces. Hopefully everyone's okay. Okay, back to heart
happy
face.
Shocked.
Okay, happy shocked. Anyways, let's talk about Safer's favorites. So I asked Safers what their favorite resources were, and here are some examples. So this is Mark Ireland. You might know him on the community. He answers a lot of questions. I believe he's even watching this webinar right now. So the transformer that Mark Ireland recommended was the No Features Tester. This transformer is super useful. I use it a lot if I am automating a workspace and I want to do some debugging in my workspace. So it does exactly what it says it does, which is see if there's any features that have left a certain port in your workspace. The example I've used it for in the past is I've had a clipper and I wanted to test to make sure that there were some features inside my workflow. And if there were no features inside my workflow, I would send back a message to the user saying, hey, there's no feature selected here. Try selecting a different area. So super useful when it comes to debugging any kind of automated workflow. Next, we have Evie. So Evie is another technical support specialist who specializes in FME form. If you watch a lot of our webinars, you've probably seen her around. And she recommended the fuzzy string comparer. So this is really helpful if you have two sets of data and that string data is a little messy. I know that's not relatable for most of you that always have perfect data, but sometimes you do have data that's not the best or it's not identical to another. So you can use the fuzzy string comparer to compare two strings. In the documentation, it gave the example of address data. So in string 1, you might have South Dayton Street. In string 2, you have S Dayton Street. And you want to compare them and see how similar they are. The fuzzy string comparer will give you a number at the end of it and show you how similar these strings are. I think in the future, we might move towards more of an AI type approach with this workflow. But right now, this Python script works really well. Next, we have the looper. So this is actually contributed by Sigborn, who is a partner of ours, a long-term partner of ours, and he created this looper transformer. And this was recommended by Liz Sanderson, who manages our entire knowledge base. So if you're viewing an article that was written on the knowledge base, it was probably edited by Liz, which is an amazing feat. She recommended the looper transformer. So this is a transformer you can download and it shows you how to loop through an API. So it's one of those ones you may want to get into. So you might want to edit it itself and then copy that over into your own workflow or your own custom transformer. So it's really more of a template rather than a custom transformer used right out of the box, but it is super helpful because looping through APIs is a common task and it can be quite challenging, especially for newer FME users. Next, we have the unique value logger, and this was recommended to us by Kaylin, sorry. Kaylin is another support staff member who is featured on a lot of webinars, so you may have seen her before. The unique value logger is really good if you're kind of in the data exploration phase of your project. So if you have a really large data set, you want to get a good overview of any values you might have in that data set, you can use the unique value logger. A few years ago, I helped transition our community to a different platform. And as you can imagine, we had lots of values stored there. I believe at the time I was looking at tags that users could set. And the unique value logger helped me because instead of looking through either a massive database and trying to shift through that data myself or looking at a giant Excel file, I was using the unique value logger to get a sense of what kind of values we had in that data set and what we were working with to begin with. And then from there, I did some mapping from that unique value logger, but it's a really good transformer to use. Now I'm going on to kind of my shout outs, my favorites. I'm not sure if anyone has heard of AI before. It's kind of a hot topic in the tech community. I know it's taken us this long to bring up AI in this webinar, which I think is a record for the past few years. Anyways, so if you want to access AI, you're probably going to use a Hub resource. Again, whether they're official packages created by our developers or just users connecting to a different AI, or perhaps us, we discover a new one, we'll get it up on the Hub right away. The reason why we're using the Hub is because it's so flexible and easy to edit as these new versions of these AI packages come out. So if you want to connect to any AI, take a look on FME Hub. We probably have it. And if you don't, please reach out to us and we'd be happy to help you connect to any AI that you want to. Next, I just have a bit of a personal story. So I was building a workspace and I wanted to parse a URL. And the way I was doing it is I was using our string transformers, and I had quite a few in the row kind of doing the same task. And when you're building a workspace on FME Form, you might see if you have like 5 or 6 transformers all kind of doing the same task, that's a good hint that there might be a better way to do what you're trying to do. So I went on the community and I looked up, okay, what's the best way to actually parse these URLs? And that came up with the URL parser, which was a custom transformer that I was able to download and use. And that was actually created by Nick. And that's way before we worked together. I was actually using his content on the Hub, which is pretty interesting and fun to see. So I had no idea he created it until I started looking up this webinar and was like, oh, I've actually used that transformer by Nick before. So it's a nice little connection there. And then finally, I just wanted to shout out our Microsoft Teams connector. So our Microsoft connectors on the Hub are super popular, and the Microsoft Teams allows you to write messages to Teams. So I've used it, or I've seen this used in the past where once a workflow is completed, people write a summary of that workflow to a Microsoft Teams chat, and maybe they have like a special kind of channel that they alert if, say, a critical process, if something happened in that process. So that's another connector you might want to use on FME Hub. All right, I want everyone to kind of get ready, get your fingers on the keyboard because we're going to do a chat storm. How this, oh, Elizabeth, are you ready to explain how this will work?
Yeah. So I just put this slide in here just to give everyone a heads up before we head into the chat storm. So yeah, we're going to be asking you a question, and then we're going to count down from 3 and have everyone enter their responses all at once and create a bit of a chat storm with it. So with that, we can move on to what the question is here. So hold on to your answers, type them into the chat, but don't press send yet. What would you like to see more of on the FME Hub? And we'll give everyone, a few seconds here to type in your responses before we all press send together. I see lots of people are typing, so that's great. Wait for a few more. All right, is everyone ready? Maybe give me a thumbs up with the react button. Okay, getting quite a few thumbs up. All right, so on the count of 3, we'll all press enter. 3, 2, 1, go. Awesome, lots of responses. Start to scroll through these. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate the feedback and input on this. Do we see any common themes? I'm just scrolling through.
I think we have 2 SharePoints. That does come up a lot.
The thing I like to see here is there's actually is a lot of variety in what people are looking for, and the Hub's a great place to host everything from web transformers and SharePoint to DWR data and point cloud information. It's such a powerful resource to be able to have all this in one place.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks so much, everyone. And if you still have things come to mind, feel free to drop those in the chat. But I know we're heading towards wrap up here, so we'll carry on here towards our conclusion. And I'll pass it back over to Sienna.
All right, perfect. So FME Hub allows you to get more out of the FME platform. So we'd really encourage you to just explore, try out different content. Not all of it is visible directly through the quick ad. So try out FME Hub from the web browser itself. So try the different resources, see what works for you, see what doesn't. And then if you have any feedback, please send that to us. Nick is product manager, and he's super happy to talk about anything. Yeah, and get any feedback that you might have on your experience using the FME Hub platform. As well, if you have built something useful that you use a lot, it would be amazing if you can contribute it. You could be like the lizard here and be a hero to someone else struggling in some way with the FME platform. So really, if you could contribute, it would mean a lot to a lot of our users. All right, and I think it's back to you, Elizabeth, for the resources.
Yeah, all right. Awesome. And I think, Nick, are you talking? It looks like you're muted.
I'm good. Keep going.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, just to take us through some resources really quick. We're all about free resources here at SAFE. We have our FME Academy, academy.safe.com, with free instructor-led training. Of course, I'll also highlight our webinar program. We have lots of upcoming and on-demand webinars to check out. And we also offer podcasts. So if you're looking for some audio-based learning on the way or to or from work, maybe, check those out over at our EM360 page. In terms of next steps to take, contact us. We'd love to help you get started. As Sienna mentioned, yeah, Nick is happy to help you out with any questions as well, and the whole team. So info@safe.com. Do get in touch with us. We'd love to help you with anything data. And our FME Accelerator course, it's 90 minutes free of charge. It's a great place to get started with FME if you're just getting started. I'd highly recommend it. I did take it myself and got a lot of value from it. Our community badge code. So if you are a member of our community, we have a code to redeem as a thank you for joining us here today. I'll drop that in the chat as well. Here we go. You do have to scroll down a little bit on the community and you'll find the place to enter the code on the bottom right side, or middle right side rather. Yeah, and if you aren't yet a member of our community, we encourage you to check it out. It's a great place to network with other users alike and yeah, gain any solutions to your data challenges there. Once again, the peak of data and AI coming to Seattle this 2025, May 6th to 8th. And with that, I will ask our presenters if they want to turn on their webcams and join me on stage. We do have 5 minutes here to answer a couple questions. It looks like we did have a few come in.
Yeah, and actually, I'll take one of them right now here. There was a question about using, I'm assuming, looking for Hub content, looking for testing in Excel that checks for correct data types and, for example, strings versus numbers. Actually, you don't even need Hub content for this particular one. We have a great transformer built into Form called the Attribute Validator, and it allows you to go through and check, is this column a string? Is this column a number? Is this greater than 6? Is this matching some sort of regular expression? It's a really powerful tool that can be used, and it's built right in. There was a second question that I wanted to talk about here just a little bit around private content in the Hub. So private content right now is only available when you're downloading from the Hub website itself. It's not available in Form, like we had mentioned earlier, because we don't know who you are in terms of your account in the Hub when you are using Form. So if we don't have any authentication, we don't have any way of knowing who you are and what you're able to actually download. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but it's something that we are most certainly looking into, and something that you may hear some cool things about if you attend the Peak of Data and AI in Seattle, May 5th through 8th. Early sign-up discounts apply till February 28th, hint, hint. You may find out more during that event as well about some interesting things that we're doing on that sort of particular front.
And then the last question we have is there some kind of security check that we do on the Hub? So right now, I don't believe there is. Is that correct, Nick? Yeah.
Yeah, so there's two components when it comes to security. One are things like scanning for viruses and that kind of content. We are talking about ways of looking at that. It traditionally has never been an issue. The side that's a lot trickier when it comes to security is regulating what a transformer can do. You know, FME is such a powerful product and ecosphere of products that you can use Python to do things. You can read and write files. You can create all sorts of custom processes. And it's very hard to know exactly what's going on when it comes to ill-intentioned Hub transformers. In part, that's why we now have our verified and official publisher tiers in the Hub. These are ones where we assure that the content has been vetted either by ourselves or our trusted partners. But we're always interested in any feedback in what would, send me an email. What would it take to make you feel more comfortable about downloading content from the Hub? It's a discussion that we've had a few times internally recently, and is something that I would love to hear some feedback on, whether offline by email or, again, come visit us at the Peak of Data and AI in Seattle, May 5th through 8th, and talk to me there.
I think that's everything.
Yeah, that wraps up all our questions. I will just note, I'll keep things running a couple minutes longer in case you do have a question that comes to mind. Feel free to drop it in and we can keep an eye on that on the back end here. But in the meantime, huge thank you to everyone for joining us here today, and shout out to Nick and Sienna as well. Thank you so much for all your time preparing today's content. We really appreciate it. And yeah, we hope you all have a great rest of your day. If you do have a moment to let us know what you thought of the webinar, we appreciate any feedback on that survey as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for corralling us and organizing us and getting us up and running.
Yeah, my pleasure. Bye for now, everyone. Have a good day.